Hello, this is Dr. Michael Greger coming to you live from my treadmill like I do every month to answer any questions you may have. This year, I'm excited to answer your question in person in book signing lines and Q&As, 200 cities lined up. Although I only got like 190 to go or something. We've been on the road for a couple of weeks in Southern California and Arizona, but hopefully we'll be in your town soon. Including countries like Poland and Denmark and Iceland for the first time ever. I'm really excited. In Denmark, it's crazy. They had to they had like an 800-person theater. They had to do a second thing because they sold out so quickly. They're doing a whole second showing, I guess. I'm going to do two back-to-back. That is just so cool. It's a place I've never even been. So I think, speaks to the tremendous surge in interest in healthy eating. So that's super exciting. So that's the best part, is seeing everybody. Of course, all the travel and bad food and bad sleep is not the best part. But I'll be done in 10 months and off to write the next book, How Not to Age. Anyway, for those of you unfamiliar with my work, every year I redo every issue of every English language nutrition journal in the world, so busy folks like you don't have to. I then combine all the most interesting, most groundbreaking, most practical findings into new videos and articles upload every day, nearly every day, to my nonprofit site, NutritionFacts.org. Everything on the website is what? Free. There are no ads, no corporate sponsorship, strictly non-commercial, not selling anything. Just put it up as a public service, as a labor of love, as a tribute to my grandmother. New videos and articles every day, nearly every day, and latest in evidence-based nutrition. Oh, what a concept. All right, let's start with your questions. What's so nice about Facebook Live as opposed to YouTube as opposed to Facebook Live is the questions don't move. Like, you put your questions down and I can just go in order. I don't have to skip any because I scroll up too quickly. But so let's do it. Number one, Steve Parker. Why eliminate nutritional yeast? I'm sorry if you got that impression. So on Facebook, someone with hidradenitis suppurativa says, what should I cut out of my diet? I said nutritional yeast. There are two groups of individuals that should not eat nutritional yeast. Well, three, I guess. One, if you have an allergy, which I've never heard of. But two is if you have hidradenitis suppurativa, which is an autoimmune condition, as well as Crohn's disease. Why? I've got videos on that. Just type in nutritional yeast and check it all out. But for everybody else, nutritional yeast is perfectly fine. And I had some for breakfast, actually. All right, Carl Kramer says, any advice for loose skin post big weight loss? First of all, congratulations on the big weight loss. You lost so much weight, you have loose skin. That is a phenomenal feat. Keep up the good work. But unfortunately, the only thing you can do, there are only surgical interventions in terms of cosmetic surgery to get rid of the excess flaps of skin. And for everybody else, not gain that much weight in the first place. Synergy Dancio, or Synergy Dance Zero, asks, how are the majority of longest living people in blue zones doing so well despite eating meat, fish, dairy occasionally? You just answered your own question, because they only eat meat, fish, dairy occasionally. So for example, the Okinawa Japanese, the second longest living population in the world, of course, this is when they weren't eating KFC like they are now. They actually have some of the worst public health statistics now. But in the 50s, when they were eating healthier, more traditional diets, they had like a 97% plant-based diet. And really had a kind of a sweet potato, vegetable-based diet. The only people who live longer than them, only formally studied population, is the 7-day Adventist vegetarians, Loma Linda, California. I just spoke in Loma Linda. That was a lot of fun. And they don't eat any meat at all. And they're the only blue zone that actually continues to be a blue zone, right? These other are historical examples. They now westernized their diet. But the blue zone that is doing the best and continues to thrive is the one that doesn't eat any meat at all and living about a decade longer than the general population. Richard Strauss says, what's the optimal dosage of vitamin E per day? Well, dosage implies you're taking vitamin E supplement, which you wouldn't want to do. Actually, there's a study suggesting that those taking vitamin E supplements actually cut their lives short. But you do need vitamin E, but you should get it from natural sources like nuts and seeds. Possibly right says, why do avoid nutritional yeast? I didn't say that. I only said if you have Crohn's disease or hidradenitis suppurativa. Everybody else, feel free to eat your nutritional yeast. In fact, it's a way to get your vitamin B12 if it's fortified with B12. Oh, speaking of B12, AP asks, is duckweed a safe plant source for B12? And the answer is not until it's proven to be, right? I mean, that's critically important, right? Vitamin B12. So the company that makes it or that packages it, that sells it, purports to show active B12. That isn't proven until people with B12 deficiency are given duckweed as a sole source and their B12 level recovers, right? Their homocysteine comes down if they're folate replete, or their methylmalonic acid level drops. That's the only way, right? So there's a lot of tests for B12 that don't necessarily show active B12. There are B12 analogs, which our body can't use, fools our body. Actually, they're like can act as anti-B12. So you just do not want to mess around. You can end up paralyzed, demented, or dead from a B12 deficiency. So until it's proven to be a reliable source, where they actually do a clinical study, it's easy to find vegans low in B12, right? Because so many vegans are too stupid to not supplement. They are stupid for not supplementing. So you put 10 of them, 20 of them, and give them some duckweed and see what happens. And until then, it's not a reliable source of B12 until it's proven to be a reliable source of B12, because it's not something you want to mess around with, right? Critically important. All right. And look, even if they showed, see, they claim that there's a bacteria that kind of lives in the duckweed that produces B12. Let's say they do the study and they show that a batch of duckweed improves their B12 status. Okay, that's great. So you say that batch of duckweed improves their B12. It doesn't mean all duckweed or all the duckweed they even sell has active B12. Maybe it has different bacteria that aren't making B12 at the moment. So unless they can show reliably that whatever species of duckweed they have just always makes B12 that's always usable by people, if that's not the case, then you need to stick with supplements of vitamin B12 or vitamin B12 fortified foods. Okay. Emily Page Perron, or Page Perron, says, hi, what's your take on gluten flour, homemade, no oil, no salt, seitan? Oh, obviously, so not a whole food, but it's a green, yellow, or green light food. So it's a yellow light food because it's a processed plant food. So it's a plant food from which something good has been taken away or something bad has been added. And here in this case, nothing bad has been added, but there has been something good taken away, right? You know how to make seitan. You wash away the fiber, wash away some nutrition. But in terms of meat substitutes, certainly better than everything else on the market, right? Which has added sodium, often added saturated fat. Of course, what would be even better meat substitute? Real whole food, like legumes, whole grains, mushrooms, these kind of things. Okay. Anyway, Tattooed Woman asks, please talk about nenovolipigenesis and how hard it is for the body to turn carbohydrate into fat. So Tattooed Woman did not mean nenovolipigenesis. She meant de novo lipogenesis. Your body. It's true that if you overfeed people calories, it's easier to make people gain weight, giving people fat calories and carbohydrate calories. In fact, you can make 100,000 calories disappear by effective feeding people, trying to overfeed people carbohydrates as opposed to fat. I talk about this study on Vermont prisoners, where they tried this experimental weight gain study. They tried to get people to gain weight. It took 100,000 more calories on a mixed diet than an all-fat diet. The problem is, but if you drink a whole bunch, if you drink a couple liters of soda a day, even though you won't make a lot of fat, you know where that fat is made? That fat is made in your liver. Increases liver fat, which can dull the sensitivity to insulin in your liver and set you up for all sorts of badness. So yeah, do not overeat added sugars. So yeah, okay. So even if it doesn't, if you're like, oh, it just puts a few grams of fat on your body. Yeah, but guess where it is? Liver fat. That's a bad thing. Increase your risk of fatty liver disease. Again, bad thing. Okay. The Chosen comment asks, for someone working in hospitals, working 4 on, 4 off, is it possible? Is it difficult? It is difficult to intermittent fast and not eat in the middle of the night. Any recommendations? Don't eat in the middle of the night. I mean, there's not much you can do. I mean, there's all sorts of chronobiological badness that comes along with night shifts, like the light in the middle of the night. That's not good. But you can't do much about that. But you can do something about eating. So you don't eat it. You still don't eat at night. You eat before you go to bed in the morning, or before you go to work. And in terms of, well, I'm going to get so hungry going all night without food. Well, you need to, eat your thylakoids, appetite suppressing foods, cumin, and by thylakoids, I mean dark green leafy vegetables, like half cup of greens, groats, intact whole grains, that will help take you to the next morning. All right. Richard Strauss asks, once again, what's the optimal dose of vitamin E a day? You don't have to ask twice on YouTube, because all the questions are all lined up. But on Facebook, yeah, that's your best chance of getting your question answered, because there's like 1,000 questions and they just scroll up too quickly. Anyway, Michelle Jacoby says, should healthy, whole food, plant-based vegans get colonoscopies after age 50? It is even more critical that those eating healthy diets get colon cancer screening. Why is that? Because they're expected to live so long. The reason there are recommendations for stop getting colonoscopies, for example, after age 70, is because they think that you're going to drop dead any moment. So who cares if they find a cancer? Because you're going to die of heart disease any day now. But look, if you're going to live to be 100, well, then you just may add 50 years to your life if you get an early cancer detection. It's even more important. Now, you don't get a colonoscopy. That's something they only do here in the U.S. for colon cancer screening. In terms of as the preferred method, other countries are much smarter and use like sigmoidoscopies or stool testing. And so I would indeed recommend getting colon cancer screening starting at age 50, which is coming up for me. But I would not recommend a colonoscopy, and you can check out my videos on colonoscopy and other colon cancer screening techniques on NutritionFacts.org. Okay. Steve Parker, why eliminate nutritional yeast? Don't eliminate nutritional yeast unless you have Crohn's disease or hidradenitis suppurativa or an allergy to nutritional yeast. May Carlucci says, my daily supplements are D3, B12, and plant-based omegas. What are your recommended doses? Well, I actually have all my recommended doses, which I update whenever I make a change. And so let me paste it in a blog called Optimum Nutrition Recommendations. All right, so I just pasted it in the chat. So I guess I don't know where it is on your side, but probably at the bottom. So this was updated 2019. And so for vitamin B12, I can just read from my recommendations. 2,000 micrograms of cyanocobalamin once a week, ideally as a chewable sublingual or liquid supplement taken on an empty stomach. Or at least 50 micrograms a day of supplemental cyanocobalamin. Don't have to worry about taking too much. Or servings of B12 fortified foods 3 times a day, one at each meal, each containing at least 190% of your daily value, listed on the Nutrition Facts label, based on the new labeling mandated January 1st, 2020. Those over age 65, though, should take at least 1,000 micrograms of cyanocobalamin every day. And if you're experiencing deficiency symptoms, the best test is methylmalonic acid, not serum B12. All right. Omega-3s, I recommend people consider 250 milligrams of a pollutant-free, meaning yeast or algae-based, long-chain omega-3s like EPA and DHA. Vitamin D3, depends on where you live and how much sun you get. You can look on the chart for that, and on down the list. Okay. Heidi says, have I heard, and researched the genetic disorder PKU. These are folks that cannot eat aspartame, which must be a tough way to live because there's lots of aspartame in the food supply. But it's not something I've looked at in terms of what you can do about it, other than, of course, dietary restrictions. Ian Chabot asks, doesn't ask, says cumin over aspirin, with lots of exclamation points and some all caps thrown in for the heck of it. Organic Snowflakes asks, does mustard seed powder help reactivate the enzymes in frozen broccoli? Yes, or only in cooked greens? Both. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out my videos. What are they called? I'm on my favorite website right now, NutritionFacts.org. There we go. It's called Second Strategy. That's what it's called. The second strategy to cooking broccoli. I talk about all the strategies, but that's the one that talks about the mustard seed, I believe. Right. Where's the next one? Okay. Automaton 111 asks, EPA DHA supplements increase prostate cancer risk? Question mark. And the answer is no. And I got a video coming out about that as well. Faith Zuckerberg, how can I help my swollen thyroid until blood test and ultrasound gets done? You got to wait till you find out what the cause is, right? Find out what the cause is and then treat the cause. Sylvia Vigil, of course, what do you do until then? You eat healthy, right? Anyway, Sylvia Vigil says gout in an 89-year-old whole food plant-based diet person for 5 years using tart cherry and turmeric, fasting once a week. What else can I recommend? Water. You need to keep hydrated, right? I mean, gout is the crystallization. You have such high levels of a chemical called uric acid in your bloodstream, crystallizes out in your joints like rock candy in a supersaturated sugar solution. So what do? Dilute. Got to drink. So unless you have some contraindication to extra liquid like kidney failure, heart failure, etc., you should be drinking at least a cup an hour, and lots of drinking at night. You should have to get up in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom a lot because you're going to be drinking a lot of water. And then when you get up to pee, you drink more water. So you have to get up to pee again in a couple hours. Got to keep hydrated at all times. Richard Strauss is back with vitamin D. We answered that. Colette asks in another language, but it has the word français in it. If anyone can translate that, I'd be happy to answer that question. Let me see if I can kind of try to reason it out. Yeah, no idea. All right, sorry about that. Farah La Flamenca asks, hi, Dr. Greger. My dad has high creatinine levels and diabetes and high cholesterol, ulcerative colitis. That's making him hesitate about plant-based diet. Hesitate? That's yes, one more reason needs to eat plant-based because that may suggest failing kidney function. Oh my God, your dad needs to go on a whole food plant-based diet. But of course, if he's on diabetes medications, he should do it under physician supervision because he will become rapidly over-medicated as he treats the cause of his condition. Gina Newby asks, whole food plant-based diet says no salt. Don't we need at least some salt? Yes, but sodium is found naturally in whole foods, right? I mean, it doesn't make sense that how could we live for millions of years without a salt shaker? Oh, because salt's found everywhere. I mean, you get all the salt you need eating normal, healthy, whole foods. But what should be our daily limit? According to the American Heart Association, 1,500 milligrams of sodium a day. That's almost impossible to do unless you're eating a whole food plant-based diet. Captain Spiff asks, AFib, atrial fibrillation and diet connection. What about alcohol consumption, foods to avoid or incorporate? What do I have? I think I have a video on coffee suggesting decreasing caffeine consumption for people with AFib. I'm trying to think what else. Type in atrial fibrillation into NutritionFacts.org, see what pops up. I may have some videos about it, but it was so long ago, I don't remember it. Okay, Phil Silver says, what blood tests to make sure to have done to know your complete health status? There's no such blood test, but according to the USPSTF, the official body that recommends such things, cholesterol is the most important thing to know. If you need to know one number, cholesterol, in terms of blood work, cholesterol would be a good one. Automaton 111 is back. What to eat or drink if you have a cold? Well, if you already have, well, you eat healthy, stay really hydrated. But in terms of doing something to reduce the duration of the cold, I've got some videos coming up about elderberry and echinacea and zinc, I believe. So zinc acetate supplements can decrease cold duration if taken immediately upon first symptoms of the cold. And I forgot what the other ones say, but that's why I got videos coming out. I am not pronouncing that name. Last name Bogorodzici asks, what about lead in turmeric powder? Hope not. The biggest problem with kind of Ayurvedic supplements, and that turmeric is from many different traditions, is that they actually go out of their way to add mercury, lead, toxic heavy metals to their as part of their quote unquote healing system, which is just absolutely insane. But something like turmeric powder should just be one ingredient, it's not a mixture, and shouldn't have lead added. And we just have to hope that that there isn't lead present. Fortunately, the whole world was contaminated because we used leaded gasoline, which was a terrible, terrible idea. LG Lopez M asks if mammograms are not advisable. What about thermography or other options do we have to test for early breast cancer? So I have a whole long series about the pros and cons of mammography. And I didn't conclude they were not advisable. I concluded, here's the risks, here's the benefits. Make up your own mind, as I do with basically everything in my life, on my work. But thermography is, even the FDA realizes that is a bad idea. Don't do it. And what else can we do? We can eat healthy, not drink alcohol, not be obese, all sorts of things. Make sure you eat soy foods, things like that lower our breast cancer risk. That's the best thing to do, rather than just wait until you have cancer and detect it early rather than later. Bella Z asks, hi, Dad, really bad polymyalgia rheumatica. Will plant-based diet help him? Search but can't find anything specifically on that condition. It is a inflammatory condition. I would assume an anti-inflammatory diet would help, but we don't know until you put it to the test with an N of 1 and try it out. Have your dad try it out, and then let me know next month at the Q&A how it went. Debbie Wachik asks, have there been any studies done about diet and frontal temporal lobe dementia? And as far as I know, no. Although, very excitingly, Dr. Dean Ornish right now has a trial running, a randomized controlled trial on to see if he can reverse the progression of Alzheimer's with a plant-based diet. Everyone is eagerly awaiting those results. AP asks, why does the body have a low conversion of ALA to EPA DHA? Can anything dietarily or otherwise do to enhance the conversion? So for those of you who have been following closely, there's something called alpha-linolenic acid, which is the short-chain fatty acid, omega-3 fatty acid found in walnuts and flax seeds and hemp seeds and other healthy foods. And our body can elongate those short-chain fatty acids into the long-chain so-called fish fats, the EPA and DHA. Question is, can it be done enough for optimal health? Not so much heart health, but cognitive health. And the answer is we don't know. And so I think the evidence is strong enough, including randomized controlled trials of algae-based DHA showing significant improvement in cognitive health. Well, then there you go. It's been put to the test. And I would advise people get 250 milligrams of preformed long-chain omega-3s in their diet from a pollutant-free source, meaning an algae-based or yeast-based source. But if you don't want to do that and you want to rely, first you have to get enough ALA. So, tablespoon of ground flaxseed should. You can. That's one of the reasons why I encourage people to eat ground flax seeds, is because it's one of the most concentrated sources of alpha-linolenic acid. That's in my daily dozen checklist of all the healthiest healthy foods out there. And then you want to decrease your consumption of the omega-6 rich oils. These are junky oils like cottonseed oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil, And so because the same enzyme system that elongates the omega-3s elongates the omega-6s. So you cut down omega-6s and your body spends more time elongating the omega-3s. Julia A. asks, hello, Dr. Greger, just diagnosed asthmatic. Any tips? Already whole food vegan. More fruits and vegetables. So if you take people, randomize them to add more fruits and vegetables, whether it's the antioxidant effect, the anti-inflammatory effects, we don't know, but you get significant improvements, not only subjective, but objective measures of lung function. So more fruits and veggies. Ranji El Manufi says, have you heard of allulose? Is it safe to consume? It's a new natural low-calorie sweetener extracted from a real food. Well, that doesn't say much. Sugar is extracted from a real food, sugar beets or sugar cane. That's the problem. It's extracted. But anyway, allulose is one of the probably 3 least harmful low-calorie sweeteners: allulose, monk fruit, and erythritol. And so if you were going to do one, then either of those 3, as opposed to stevia or any of the, Splenda, aspartame, etc. But they're all bad for a reason that I describe, that have nothing to do with the individual chemical structure, but because of the way your brain processes low-calorie sweeteners. But yeah, better than some of the more the ones that have been associated with a number of chronic conditions. And of course, you can just type that into NutritionFacts.org. Richard Strauss, what's the optimum dosage of vitamin E every day? I feel like now he's just trolling me. Moonford 2. How can we help boost our white blood cell counts? No, that is a bad idea. So white blood cell counts is a sign of systemic inflammation. That's asking, like, how can I increase my C-reactive protein? How can I increase inflammation within our body? Not a good idea. Having a low white blood cell count is a good idea. It's actually a healthy indicator, and I have a bunch of videos about that. What's the ideal white blood cell count? How you can get that? And it's about lowering it, not raising it. So just put in white blood cells into NutritionFacts.org. Meredith St. Andre asks, talk a lot about timing meals, breakfast like a king. Any advantage to timing exercise? Yes, it's one of the tweaks. Exercise timing. And the question is before or after breakfast, and the answer is before breakfast. Indeed, that's in terms of body fat, losing body fat. Jacqueline Richard says, I find optimal potassium dosage difficult to reach in a whole food plant-based diet. What? Oh, should I use supplements? What? You're eating the most potassium-rich foods on the planet. So getting 4,700 milligrams a day should be no problem. But if not, you can eat really potassium-rich foods like greens and beans. All right. Gina Newbie, is back asking, interested in previous question. Oh, we already did that. Okay. We did more vitamin E. CC Beachick asked, nutrition yeast recommended enough for celiacs or other autoimmune patients? Celiacs, fine. Other autoimmune diseases, fine, except for 2, hidradenitis suppurativa and Crohn's disease. Everybody else can enjoy their nutritional yeast. Helen D says, we're advised not to take calcium supplements, but what if you need extra calcium? What about calcium fortified plant-based milks? Certainly healthier than the way most people get the majority of their calcium. But even better would be low oxalate dark green leafy vegetables, which that's eat it from whole food. What a concept. You know I was going to say that. Okay. And we are out of time. I've got an interview at 1:30. In fact, the phone should ring any moment. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you had a fantastic time. Oh, I got some webinars coming up. Wait a second. Tomorrow, I have it's too late. Sorry. Okay. But I have a webinar in February on why vegetarians have higher stroke risk. Very interesting. Join me February 20. There's the interview. Anyway, subscribe to NutritionFacts.org. Bye.